welcome back to the rationalinvestor.com Broiler Chicken Show. Trade your trading plans, don't take too much risk on any one trade, and just let yourself get rich. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the rationalinvestor.com's Broiler Chicken Show. Well, anyway, live once again. It's a happy Sunday. TGI Fun Day. I think that's how Chris describes it when he loads up the video for us here. Good thing I got a half decent technician at the helm, hey? Man, if you listen to some people, we would have sold all our Bitcoins at 100 G's and be sitting here stewing in our beers as the market keeps surging higher here. Anyway, I don't know whether there are other people on the net who are as good at reading the tea leaves as the old Beamish, but I think we got this market pretty tapped, and actually I'm feeling very, very optimistic about the future. Ironically enough, we're actually in, unfortunately, we got to get through this nutso inflationary craziness that's going to just dominate our society in 2027 and 2028, but we're not there yet. So we got probably another, actually, I wouldn't be surprised, to be perfectly honest with you. This market is building so much inertia underneath it that I wouldn't be surprised if this like spills over into the first, maybe even the second quarter of next year if we're lucky. But no doubt about it, you can see all the wheels are all falling into motion. I mean, it's absolutely textbook the way the market pivoted there through the end of June, the beginning of July there. You literally could not have scripted that any better. You literally couldn't have. And yet the irony of it all is every damn year it happens. I think you'll all come to lament. If you ever see May 11th again, you're going, oh, goddamn, that Beamish guy's birthday. Oh, Jesus. I tell you, this stuff is so incredibly cliche. It's absolutely insane. So anyway, we made it through the June swoon, as they say. All the damn Australians doing their tax loss selling, driving prices down. I don't know whether it has anything to do with Australia, but we are finally through that window. And the irony of it all, I suppose, and a lot of the tweets and yaps and whatever the hell you call them these days, I guess you're not even allowed to call them tweets anymore. But a lot of the posting that I've been putting out is we, as good technicians, we often... I think we can get, especially when we deal with like weekly and monthly price charts and we start dealing about like 4-year asset cycles and where we are on the interest rate curve and stuff. I think to all intents and purposes, we're pretty damn good technicians. We can get a pretty good idea of what's coming down the pike. But that's price, and prices go up, prices go down. You never know really the reason why. You can get a general idea. Well, it's the demographics. The baby boomers are heading into retirement, and then they're heading out, and then they're this. But it's absolutely fascinating to watch, like actually like boots on the ground. I suppose that's actually not a bad analogy. The technician's flying along on his bomber, right? And he sees all of the targets and all that kind of stuff. And you get a pretty good idea, glide paths of, missiles and bombs and whatever. But it's the guys at the boots on the ground that actually see, well, the reason why we got to get rid of that building is because there's a big fox nest in there, and the 50 cal machine gun we got to get rid of or something. He's tearing us apart. Anyway, maybe not the best analogy, but hey, what the hell? Brian's having fun here. So, what I see happening, like boots on the ground, is I see the actual mechanics of what's scary is it feels as though this digital mafia sort of crew is trying to take over our society here. And I wouldn't be surprised if they literally are the next sort of generation's oligarchs. Um, and, funny little things like 20 years ago, if I had ever, if somebody had told me that, well, you probably won't be using banks to move money around, you'll be using PayPal to pay people online. Like, what? Really? Sure enough. I was actually quite surprised when my bank actually said, well, no, if you're sending money down to the US, use PayPal. Like an actual bank says that. Anyway, sign of the times. Um, so just the point I'm trying to make here, I suppose, is according to all our cycle analysis, been doing this silly little Bitcoin game here for well over a decade. And I've been, of course, speculating in the venture capital market now for 30, 40 years. And remarkable to see the coincidence that we come into anticipated cycle pivots, and mysteriously the fundamentals all start to fall around us, justifying rallies. And unfortunately, of course, for any students of mine, we do know that 1947, 1948 were very, very bad years for inflation. That was the last respective Great Reset, money cycle pivot, Bretton Woods, all that kind of fun stuff, setting the stage for, I guess, the latter part of the 20th century's financial system. And now we're going through the process of trying to figure out what the hell this new financial system is going to look like. It's interesting. I do like to listen to a lot of these I don't know, societal influencers, I guess. Druckenmiller, I'm a big fan of him. And ironically enough, it turns out that actually Druckenmiller, of course, his boss was George Soros. And coincidentally, the now Secretary of Treasury in the United States, Bassad, also was a disciple of Mr. Soros. And yet the irony of it all is that, through election campaigns and MAGA and all that kind of chatter, we were supposed to think that these globalists were actually the enemy. Turns out, actually, they're right in bed with Mr. Trump. Go figure. Anyway, it would have been interesting on the campaign trail had Commie Cammy, which I doubt would ever happen, but if Commie Cammy had tried to really press, well, how close are you to these globalists? I do find it fascinating that the crony that basically took over my country. I mean, what a scam of an election. Now, the whole thing was just such a facade. He basically bought Donald Trump's favor, and I think actually influenced the Canadian election with Trump rhetoric to the tune of $1.1 billion cash on the barrelhead for a lease of one of Trump's buildings in New York for the next 100 years, paid the entire lease entirely up front. No, that's not suspicious. Now, is it? Have any of you ever heard, oh, you know what? Go and pay all your mortgage payments, including all the interest, pay it all now. That doesn't make any sense from a financial perspective, because we know specifically that 50 years from now, $1 today, if we even use dollars, is not going to have the same purchasing power as $1 50 years from now. So why would this guy go and pay the entire sum all up front in today's dollars, unless this was like basically crony capitalism, total con job, total fraud? And now the irony of it all is that right across the entire Canadian social media, they're all saying this guy was the biggest sellout, and he turns out he's a total pussy, and he's not even standing up to Trump at all. Welcome to 21st century capitalism, I suppose. That's a bad sign. Oh, well. Anyway, rant. If anything, not a normal broadcast from Mr. Beamish without a big old jab at the powers that be. Unfortunately, us little people, there's not a hell of a lot we can do about it, but sure is fun to lament. Anyway, I hope you're enjoying your July. Clearly, we are into the summer doldrums, as it is. Probably a lot of the professionals on Wall Street have headed off to the Hamptons, and they've just left the kids at the helm. And through these summer silly seasons, of course, all the kids are out of school, and the teenage boys are all nicely tucked into mom's basement and have all their computers up and running, and they're trying to find the next shitcoin that'll make them a millionaire so I could drive a Lambo to school in September. Wouldn't that be cool? Impress all my friends. So I think that's the type of environment that we've entered here. We're in, I think we're officially into the silly season. So enjoy the ride. Of course, all of you have seen these images out the butt forever. So this shouldn't be news to anybody, but this has been my roadmap here. And I got to say, man, it has worked very, very well. Had you had the balls, I remember I was barking on social media like crazy. In fact, we had a fun little expression. And of course, all of you watching, you probably all watched all of these, but get your skirt together. The point here is you were supposed to get your shit together here in crypto winter. And, from a Bitcoin perspective, it's just been literally just higher highs and higher lows since crypto winter. But the sad part about it, folks, is this is kind of like the ants and the grasshoppers. So, we're in the middle of the summer. And of course, the grasshoppers are out there just having a party. And I think it's going to be one hell of a party here for the next probably 90 days or so. But the ants, the middle of the summer, they see how, the crops are starting to grow and getting all excited about this year's harvest. They're probably already making plans about where they're going to start storing stuff. So glass half empty, glass half full. They're both technically correct right now. And I think the glass is getting fuller as we move through this cycle. But I do think that a seasoned pro, somebody who does not act with emotion, somebody who is here to actually see their account balance and their net worth grow, and keep the growth. They should be starting to sort of formulate what is their exit plan. Doesn't mean you have to exit today. In fact, I might even argue, especially if you're an altcoin fan, there are a lot of really, really good looking setups that have come in here just basically through the end of June, beginning of July. So bloody cliche. And they are rallying. So, if you are a trader, you better be in there active doing your thing. And unfortunately, of course, when the damn market starts popping up and, you hear the Beamish banging out doubles and all that kind of fun stuff, the public's going to come in. They're probably going to be buying the up markets. And then unfortunately, they want to see even higher prices. So they're going to be pounding the table. And, the question ultimately, we should probably even start placing bets. When do we start seeing Gucci sweater wearers on social media now touting cryptocurrency investment courses that'll make you rich? And all you got to do is just to write Bitcoin, BTC, on a whiteboard and circle it and say, that's the future. Thank you very much for your $5,000. We'll see you again in a few years after you go and make some more money because you get wrecked. Oh, well. This space is so cliche. It's ridiculous. So who knows what the next Gucci sweater wearer is going to look like, where it's going to come from the corners of the world. I will say one thing that I'm a little disappointed in this cycle, and I think it has everything to do with short-term interest rates, is we really haven't had the newly minted billionaires created in this cycle. But it kind of makes sense. The SBFs and all those kind of people, Do Kwons and stuff, they have lots of investment capital thrown at them from people like Novograds, um, when the cost of money is zero. Novograds, he can go and grab 10 million bucks at 1% interest and pay the interest on that, but just with the chump change, right? Whatever he's got in his couch these days, I suppose. Probably have $100 bills stuffed in the couch. But at like 4 or 5% rates down in the States, the old venture cap market it's struggling. You can really see it just doesn't have the oomph that when we live in MMT world and hey, go borrow $1 million, doesn't cost anything, and money's never going to cost anything. Well, we're not in that world anymore. It should be interesting though, based on our not only based on our 4-year cycles, when next sort of big buying bottom window for things like Bitcoin comes in. I think this also, when I talked to you about the insane inflation that should come in here in 27, 28. The irony of it all, though, is what causes the inflation. And I think what causes the inflation here, 27, 28, is, and of course, got to hand it to Josh, man. He did such a great job on this, this blog post. We know that according to Mr. Benner, of course, and this also aligns nicely with our little crypto 4-year cycle. But we know that unfortunately, 26, tough year. Something is going to hit the fan in 26. And, the worst part about this is, again, I started the video off with this today, but I think it's basically the same message. Is as good technicians, we gather information, whether it be something like Mr. Benner, or whether it be the crypto cycle or, the money cycle. If I pull up the short-term interest rate picture, we know something's going to hit the fan here in 26. Now, it might be like the sickness scenario where the actual market top came in January of 20. There's a very real possibility that this goes on into January of 2027. I doubt it, though, because if we go back to our handy dandy 4-year cycle with crypto, January 2027, you can see actually in fall of 2026, that's when we transition from fall into winter. And that's usually the worst time in crypto. So you can see the last cycle, we transition from fall into winter, and we actually make our bottom almost right at the beginning of winter. Previous cycle from fall to winter, and I remember this specifically, this transition right here. I was in Europe, and everybody and their brother was absolutely convinced this was the bottom for Bitcoin. And, they just took the market sideways for 6 months. Everybody got comfortable with $5,000-$6,000 Bitcoin floor. And then right into that window, they knocked it in half and just ripped all the newly minted crypto experts, ripped their hearts out. And then if we go back to the previous cycle, you can see this one, it actually took a while to get down into that winter. But nonetheless, this was Mike Hearn, rage quit, all that kind of fun stuff. BTCE. Let's say Gox liberated coins liquidated on BTCE. Anyway, that was through that window, but you get the idea, right? So just the simple fact of the matter is I find it very hard to believe that we're going to go too far into 26 before this actually starts rolling over in earnest. But the real shit kicker, the one that sort of kicks you in the nuts, and it's the final dagger in the corpse, it's nail in the coffin, whatever the hell cliche you want to use, that really rips people's hearts out. It's that transition from the fall into the winter. And what a coincidence. Look how that's November 26, October 26. And so my hunch, and this is what I think happens here for whatever it's worth. It's interesting too, if we pull up And you can see I love referencing this, and I do this, and that's the one thing I think that's good about me is that I consistently say the same message over and over and over. Now, I've been saying that the Canadian real estate market, I was saying the Canadian bull market topped out in 18. And I've been saying now for 7 years, this is a walking fucking train wreck. And one of these days, the whole damn house of cards is going to collapse. And what's worse about that is the more that these politicians put the correction off, the worse the correction, which ultimately may turn into a crash, has to be. What goes up must come down. You keep pushing it off and pushing it off. The inevitable day of reckoning is that much worse. But anyway, the point here is this is another perspective. This is the Great Reset from the previous cycle, 46. And you can see something happened into the middle of 1946, which just launched that inflation push. And that's kind of what I think is going to happen here. Now, it's impossible. Like I said, we're technicians. So we get a pretty good idea of what is going to happen. But what the why is specifically, it happened because there was a run on the United States government and the bond market collapsed. Could be. There's a brand new sickness that actually has 10 times the death rate as the last sickness, and everybody not only is locked in their prison cages, they are mandated by law to wear face diapers and to say 3 Hail Megas, or they get shot on the spot. Who fucking knows? And I'm just making stuff up. But the point of the matter is, as technicians, we know in basically 1 year's time, oh, fuck, we're heading into just an absolute cauldron of shit. So enjoy the good times while they last, folks. Whether it be our historical inflation, deflation, no, this is just historical inflation, Great Reset, whether it be Mr. Benner barking at us, you better be damn careful year, whether it be Bitcoin cycles and crypto winters. The writing's on the walls. So anyway, sure hope you enjoyed that rant. We should probably, Chris, maybe do a timestamp on the video or something, or maybe just make note of that. And maybe I should just go in and try and clip that out and do that as a public service message. Be careful, people. There's a lot of trouble ahead. Having said that, we're not there now. I might as well, as I used to have an old client of mine, used to always say, make hay while the sun's shining. Well, the sun is shining right now. So if you want to go and buy your island and escape and get the fuck out of society before the shit hits the fan, now is the time to do it. There you go. Looking at this chart, it's such a pretty chart. I gotta say, that's so symmetrical. It's very harmonic. Really, all we're doing is we're just making higher highs and higher lows. And hopefully what you kind of see here is the duration of this move. It should be getting shorter between there and there, and then there and there. And this basically should almost like come to a point where the very last move of this bull market, it almost feels like the market is literally moving straight up. You don't believe me? Well, let's go look at the previous cycles. I mean, as I've said on the write-up here today, right, we've got now 3 months left in this bull. So that's like 90 days. So let's just go see what the hell happened in the last 90 days of the previous cycles. This one was kind of an interesting one. Was the end of the cycle here, or was it here? Interesting how the meat and potatoes of the cycle's move was actually right here. I suppose you could argue that part of the reason why crypto kind of stalled out there on its next leg higher was, of course, this is when the inflation problem actually really started to show its head. Interestingly enough, the chatter right now is that actually inflation is kind of calm, and we're in this window here right now. And there are even people that are like barking, "Hey, the Fed should be lowering interest rates." I'll show you one image right here that actually says, and I don't care what reason you give. Oh, it's the tariffs. I don't give a shit. You can come up with whatever excuse you want, but the simple fact of the matter is, where is he? I don't even have him on here. I think I have him over here. This is historically from a market participant's perspective. This is in fact, actually, this would be good trivia. There's a good time to check in with the audience. I haven't talked to you guys yet here today. So I'm going to ask you, you tell me, and I don't know whether the color of this thing makes it too hard to see. Let's change it into a color that maybe you can see. But you tell me. What is the name of this market? And what is the market, its nickname for this particular market? And if you understand what this implies, then there's no freaking way in hell any Fed governor could endorse lowering interest rates. This makes no sense whatsoever. So, what is the name of this market? While I wait for you to answer, well, it is a bull, sure. Yeah, it's climbing the wall. I'm asking you specifically, HG1 exclamation mark. Hint, hint, hint. It's copper prices. What is the name of this market? What does it imply? And if you're here, you're a student of the market, you're here listening to me babbling on endlessly week after week, month after month. Well, thank you, Cole. I would fully expect you to know this answer. And ironically enough, most of you that are actually in the chat here with me, you're all old timers. You all should know this. It really shouldn't be that big of a deal. The point here is actually, while I wait for you to answer that question, and it's important, right, that you should answer this, I'm just going to say hello to everybody who's here. Hi, DMAC. Let's go. Actually, you should hit the like button and subscribe, right? Isn't that what DMAC you usually tell people to do? Hello, Kevin, Jim, and Liz. Happy Sunday, Brian and TRI. Good to see you. Hope your fam's doing okay. Best wishes. Zonks gives a wave. Welcome to private chat. Remember to guard your privacy and abide by our community guidelines. Don't tell anybody to F off. Ghost 88 gives a wave and a hello. The Matador. Look at Matador, man. He's such a dude. I'd be surprised if by the end of all this, actually, Matador, I think you and Colin would actually make a great social media team. Anyway, Matador makes fun of me for buying old dead blockchains. Actually, and Matador, you got a really great review on the site the other day. People saying you're one of the best fundamental analysts in crypto out there. So hats off to you, sir. The guy's like very, very nice gentleman. Really, really nice person. I had a really, really great time. My one time I've been in Iowa, and I was treated absolutely stellarly by the good citizens of Iowa. That was a really, really enjoyable evening. Thank you, sir. Anyway, moving on. Good morning, Matt Moom. Godspeed Egg 88. Hello, Brian. Can we look up INJU USD possibly? Thank you, and keep up the good work. Oh, thanks, man. Or woman. All right. What the hell? Let's finish this rant, and then I'll circle back and do your stuff, okay? Team Beam, says the Matador. Good evening, PM. Hello, Gilts. Finance with Sunny. Hey there, sir. Just popping online to say hi. We'll watch the live later on. All right. Thank you, Finance with Sunny. Did you look into my SBET call I gave you? Well, I don't know. We can look at that later, I guess. Keep educating the retail people. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I think that's what I'm supposed to be doing. The only problem is, do the retail actually listen? I will say those people that have listened and that do what I suggest, life changing. I've literally seen it in front of my eyes in 10 years. I've seen many, many, many people come and go and thank me immensely for how I've guided them in the right direction and got them thinking for themselves, including Sunny. So way to go. PM says, Brian, you mentioned in the last show that if your BTC target doesn't get hit, you will continue to hold. Why not selling some and entering in the next bear market? Thank you for your answer. Well, my stupid communist country, the government wants to take a big chunk of it. So is it in my best interest to go and tinker around with that or just leave it alone? Also, too, I got to say, the markets often they can remain illogical far longer than anybody can remain solvent. I don't have a necessity for those assets. Those assets, as I've told all of you, are actually earmarked for Liam, and he's only 25 years old right now. I agree with you that we could inject some timing into this equation. But I've got in my own personal retirement account, I probably got 50 grand worth of Bitcoin stock now. Just imagine what the hell this damn stock's going to do as we head into this psycho peak. I'm long a shit ton of Novogratz, a lot of these, Bitcoin miners, the Bitcoin ETFs. So those will probably be the things that I'll sell and take profits on in my registered account. And keep in mind, there is no tax implication if you just don't do anything, right? And frankly speaking, to all intents and purposes, with the coin sitting on cold storage, well, they just sit there on the USB drive. They don't exist. But as soon as you move them and you try to sell them, then the government's going to be like, hello, what's this? They're watching every transaction. Do I really need that added headache in my life right now? I don't need the money. And as you all know, the money is specifically earmarked for a specific purpose. And the only reason why the selling is to facilitate that purpose. And if and when that does become possible, I will. Anyway, that's my short answer for you there, PM. Show me a horse rooster. There you go. Hey, our buddy Winnie the Pooh sure is in trouble over there, Cole. You're not going to be able to do your funny little cartoons anymore. Man, I sure hope all of you learned a damn valuable lesson about it, going and throwing your money away, investing in totalitarian dictatorships. What a disaster that's been. Absolute train wreck. Anyway. Climbing the wall of worries. Yeah, Gruya Cyprian. Well, there's a name. Ironically enough, we won't actually get to the top until you actually start hearing the public saying you're stupid not to be invested. You're missing the opportunity of a lifetime. This asset will 10x from here. When you start hearing the public talking like that, and I absolutely guarantee you it's coming, that's when, of course, we have to flip our and unfortunately there are small signs that technically we're not, this isn't an investable asset anymore, with regards specifically to Bitcoin. But when they start talking about there are no more worries, there is no risk, this is a guaranteed to go up, grandma, you got to get into this thing. And then, what's worse, yeah, exactly, Cole. As soon as you start hearing that expression, and literally I get pissed off when I start hearing people in whatever social lounge or chat room or stuff I'm in, as soon as I hear somebody say that, it's like, oh, you just killed the bull market, you son of a. So, if you start hearing what I'm not even gonna say it, Cole, because I don't want to jinx it. I don't do, and if you are a TRI member, I will come and bitch slap you personally if I see you actually post something, a message like that in the TRI lounge. And I guarantee you, some doofus is gonna come in right into the fucking orgy and say, those lines, those words. And it's like, you son of a bitch, you just killed the bull market. And, I mean, this is the kind of stuff that you're never going to hear this stuff on CNBC. You will never hear this out of any, guy who's wearing a suit and tie, and really all he's doing is he's just a used car salesman, and he wants desperately for that guy that just like sold his real estate business for like $1 bazillion and is sitting on a mountain of money. And now he figures he's going to come in. Now he's going to be a crypto expert, or the stock market, the same damn thing, right? So they'll never talk to you like that on these financial, hubs, I don't know, media outlets, whatever the hell you want to talk about. A great analogy of that is all through the 1990s and the early 2000s. There was the biggest con job on Wall Street going on with a company called General Electric. This gentleman had bought the industrial company, and they made great engines and turbines and all that kind of stuff. And then all of a sudden he decided to change General Electric into a financing company. And General Electric stock went absolutely through the roof. And one of the things that General Electric bought was, which one was it? I think it was one of the broadcasters. I want to say Comcast, but I'm not totally certain if that's the right name. But guess what asset? Comcast. I think it was Comcast. But if you know the answer, correct answer, please correct me. They happen to own CNBC. So like literally for 10, 15 years, and I don't even know if you can even see the chart. I mean, it's a stunning chart when you see it. I guess we can throw it on here. For like literally a decade, General Electric just went straight up. And it was all under the name of a gentleman by the name of Jack Welch. And all through here, right, 1990s, big crazy ass bull market into the dot-com peak, they turned themselves from a utility, not industrial, not utility, industrial name, into a financing company. And of course, when the whole damn house of cards fell apart there, 2007, all that, the whole financing business collapsed. And these guys basically went out of business. But through this entire period, they owned CNBC. And not a single negative comment was ever made about how General Electric was cannibalizing its classic industrial business to keep financing ironically enough, financing the financing arm. And there's the end result. General Electric basically had to reorganize, declare bankruptcy, and start all over again. And yet there was not a single negative warning through this entire bull run. You know what? You better leave this thing alone. Mr. Welsh has come in here and completely fucked with the classic business model. And at some point, there'll need to be a day of reckoning. Whoa, you were not allowed to say those kind of things on CNBC. Never a single negative comment. So a beautiful analogy of how corrupt this system really is. So back to our fun conversation about Bitcoin. I'm probably one of the only guys in the entire universe. And of course, 30 likes, spammed out the ass with all these ridiculous piece of crap cryptocurrencies to totally dilute any message that might gain inertia in the commentary. I'm the only guy here that's going to be like, whoa, boy, once October comes, you better be careful because you could get your ass handed to you in this space. Right? You're never going to hear anybody talk like that on CNBC. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. I'm not quite sure where the hell I was going with all that. Let's see. And did you guys actually answer my question? Did anybody answer my question? Cole kind of answered it, but actually I'm a little disappointed that none of you answered the question. That's disappointing. Oh, well, that's half the reason why. Well, I won't go down there. All right. So the point of the matter here, back to our original commentary on how I got distracted, but at least I said hello to everybody there over on YouTube, is which one is it? I think it's this one. In what way? Tell me what movie that line's from. Actually, that's pretty vague. It says the protagonist. Where's my copper? Gold, silver. Oh, it's not on this one. Yeah, there it is over here. All right. So what does that message tell us? The answer is, then thank you, Cole. You're the only one who placated me. That kind of sucks. Just quit talking about the other crap and just get to the fucking crypto. When are we going to get to the fireworks factory? Now, who's it? Actually, where's Ed? Ed, are you watching? You should know that line. This is the professor of economics. That's what it is. It's classic economics 101. So if this is the professor of economics, you tell me, and I don't give a crap about what your fundamental justification for prices going up or down. Just look at the image and tell me, is the economy feeling strong or is the economy feeling weak? Don't sugarcoat this. It's really, really simple. That is a very, very strong economy. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And the irony of it all is I think we can actually come up with some pretty good price targets. Again, reading our tea leaves. Level 1 course material, very basics, what I teach new people to try and come up with targets. If you see a trending market state, here's to throw on some extensions, right? Oh, that's not a bear extension. Let's go the other direction. So really simple. And actually, this is a concept that I've used forever. Markets often like to move in ranges. So that clearly is a range. And if you think of like a parking garage or a department store, usually the ranges are pretty much equal. In essence, all we're doing is we're stair-stepping our way higher. It's just the way capitalism works. So if that's the case, then my price objective ultimately for the professor of economics is $7.50. And that's conservative. Let's do another study. Let's do a harmonic study. So I think AB equals CDs. And I used to have a nice trading setup that actually I got funded at a prop firm, just trading this one setup called the bot that says I want to see at least a 33%, but no more than a 66% retracement of whatever the initial move is. And then what I want to do is I want to think that really this is only half the move and the market needs to consolidate, digest that move. If anything, this is sort of like the Wyckoff markup process. And then sadly, of course, the public comes in here. They've bought all the institution crap. The institutions buy down here. And now the public's all long. So now the institutions, they're either short or they want to be long. They wait for the public to capitulate and panic and sell these stupid investments up here. And, they literally reload. And ideally, I like to see 61.8 to 78.6 fib retracement, but that 66 is a good reference. You don't really want to see the retracement too far beyond that. And then you want to start seeing bullish market structure. What the hell is bullish market structure, Beamish? Bullish market structure is simply the market making higher highs and higher lows. That is bullish structure, where each of these points is a battle in the marketplace between supply and demand. And if price can punch through this high here, then it implies that whatever supply that was holding the market down at this point, here, that supply has been removed. And if demand is still there, guess which way prices go? So take a screenshot of that. You know, they used to call these Dow bottoms 110, 120 years ago. Call them double bottoms. Call them W's. The key here, though, is just keep this in mind if you do decide to add this to your repertoire. The key here is that these lows have to be higher, i.e., we make a rising trend line if we play connect the dots. If your W looks like that, that is not a bullish market structure. That's actually telling you that the trend is still down. We need to see higher highs and higher lows. Now, I'm a chicken by nature. It's just what I do. Buck, 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 right? It's a damn Broiler Chicken Show. So not only do I want to see one W because I'm a chicken, I want to see two W's. So that would be like, let's pull back again and let's make another W. Now I have multiple lows, all testing this line. And in essence, I've got this demand window, and I'll place my stop loss order down here. So I'll let all of these bear camps, or bull camps, excuse me, defend my trade. And if none of these bulls can stop whatever the selling pressure is, I'll get out if we break through that low. This is the way people trade market structure. So if we look at this image, right, there's one low, there's another low. Notice higher lows. There's another low. There's another low. Look at all these higher lows. That sure looks like a bull to me. What I like to do with my fun little setup is I actually like to try and break it into quarters. This anticipated of second move. Remember, if we're thinking parking garage and extensions, we're really thinking that the market, if it breaks out through this high, probably wants to get up here. So from a harmonic perspective, you can just think like symmetrically, right? You could draw a line from there to there, and whatever sort of the ultimate correction is, you should be able to just replicate that line and project it off of whatever the lowest low is. And hello, there's a nice, this is a AB equals CD harmonic move. Yeah, we can even put fun little labels on this too. Let's go AB and CD. There we go. Now I'll take this replicated study and I'll just drag it up and plunk it right off that low right there. Now you can see I can actually start breaking this move apart into sections. As I said, to set up a trade that I think is worth taking, you want to, if you're right, get paid more money than if you're wrong. That's the whole point of this game. You will never be right 100% of the time. Lose that need. Unfortunately, it's a horrific need that feeds your ego. It's all about emotion. And unfortunately, in this game of trading, if you actually want to make money at trading, you have to put your emotions away. And keep in mind, the market is designed to take away as much money from as many people as much of the time as possible. So it will start to act in ways that want to trigger your emotional response mechanism. If you do so, if you approach the market from this kind of perspective, And you say something like, well, if that typically is the start of the move, and if we do break up through the top, then I should be thinking extensions. How can I break this into manageable chunks where if I take a trade and I'm wrong, well, I get told fairly quickly and easily that, well, your thesis was wrong. Sorry, get out and preserve capital. But if you're right, you actually get paid a fairly substantial amount of money. And of course, what we want to see is numbers that are consistent. So every single trade, if I risk a buck, but I make $3 on the setup, even if I'm only right, say 50% of the time, I'm profitable. So what I do is I take this second study and I break it into quarters. Boom. Now, this is what I find fascinating, and this is something that I've come to learn over the years. This isn't an accident. I think, in fact, technically what you see on the screen here is actually nothing more than just a visual representation of the collective perception of what value is for an asset in the marketplace. That's all it is. It's like literally a vote on how all of us humans are seeing an asset's worth or lack thereof. In this case, with the consistently more demand coming in and then busting out the supply pockets, i.e., demand is greater than supply. Remember our market structure conversation. Well, if I force myself to be hunting for those 3 higher lows, and I force myself to hunt those W's off of that 25 level, look at what just happened to come in there. That's incredible. 1 low, 2 lows, 3 lows. Look at that cute little W in there. Oh, you're such a little cutie. 3 lows, 4 lows, 5 lows, and it just keeps going higher. And look at that beautiful breakout. That is a very bullish chart pattern. You want to sprinkle in some more TA for fun? And literally, I'm giving you like a free course here today. Sure hope you're all enjoying this. I would, if anybody's finding any value in this, can you please hit the like button or subscribe to the channel or something like this to validate why I'm doing all of this? I would appreciate it. Of course, if you do take TRI's basic level 1 education program, you get, 12 weeks of this up your butt. But anyway, the point of the matter here is I like to see W's on other sides of trend line. So notice, and this is a cheeky one because they put in a W right there, then they rallied it up, then they brought it down, then they rallied it up. I'm okay with that W. That's doable, especially since this W here actually has this W here defending it. And you might even argue for fun, if you're an aggressive bot trader, that actually that's the primary downtrend line. And that was actually broken over here. So any kind of W's that form over here, I'm okay with that. But anyway, point of the matter here is if I buy at this 25 level and I've got 3 higher lows to work with, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, well, I'm good there. Then what I've done is I've basically said, look, and I'm going to let all of these people defend my trade. All of these guys down here, that guy who stopped the bear there, that guy who there stopped the bear, because it's some market participant that came in and said, buy them, get your butt out of there, buy them, right? And that's what pushes price up. So I'm going to let all of these bulls that turn the market back up, I'm going to let them defend my trade, and I'm going to put my stop just below that low there, down there. But at the same time, too, I'm thinking parking garage. I'm thinking all A, B, C, D harmonics. I'm going to force myself that I won't start taking profits and selling until I start seeing here, way up here. Or in essence, if I'm right, I get paid $3. But if I'm wrong, I lose $1. And folks, this is the secret to trading and making money from trading. The sooner you understand this concept, the sooner you are off to actually becoming a professional in the marketplace. It's one, I mean, you want to see what an unprofessional looks like? And this is what disgusts you. And I don't understand it. Like the more I live, actually, the more I think that this is hell. And if this is hell, then it makes perfect sense why orange toupees, tacos, whatever the fuck you want to call the guy, and all of his family of idiots that all, I guess, went to Trump University and got PhDs there for whatever the hell that's worth. But this is the sign of an amateur, where what they often do is they chase up markets and they're speaking totally out of opinion and completely often emotionally. And they often buy, and you've often heard me say this, maybe you have, maybe you haven't. If you haven't, and for God's sakes, write this down. All of you should have your journals out here. But the long and short of it here is that there's an old expression that many a short-term trade turn into a long-term investment. And so here's a really good example where this clown comes out and says, buy here. And he was probably hoping for a 10, 15% pop. And then he'd come out and say, sell, hey, look at that. I just made you a bunch of money. Gucci sweater wearer kind of thinking. And this is what he walked into. What a doofus, eh? Did you hear him talk down here? Oh, I'm so sorry, everybody. This was a terrible recommendation. You've all been destroyed. If you did this on margin, you might have even lost your home. That was a really bad mistake, and I'm sorry. I need to learn from my mistakes. No, fuck no. The guy basically says nothing. And of course, Brian being cheeky, it turns out that this move down into here was down into our buying zone, what I like to call the reload zone. So I played this game forever. Whenever I see a market make a 78.6 retracement, I have to buy that level. It's just TA 101. And ironically enough, we're now at the point where my asset, my investment has doubled in value. And this guy now coming out basically at scratch. And frankly speaking, I don't think it's higher. I think it's actually still sitting underneath where he told all his minions to buy. Now they come out and say, I told you so. Give me a break. There is the perfect sign of an amateur. And of course, ironically enough, a guy like Besant, who used to work with George Soros, he must look at this guy and go, keep that guy quiet. For God's sakes, do not let him in to the U.S. Treasury. I mean, this is the public, and it's so sad, But, the question I have for all of you, and of course you are here, and a lot of you are regulars and stuff, you can listen to the Gucci sweater wearers. And the sad part about it is, who knows where they get their wealth, but quite often, they wear Gucci sweaters, and yet you've given the perception that they know what they're doing in the market. And quite often they just absolutely horrific. And yet nobody ever holds them to account. I still don't understand that. Anyway, so back to our story. What you want to do, if you really want to be a professional at this, is you have to clearly articulate, if I'm right, I make this box. And, the moment that you actually enter the trade, you should know exactly what price you want to pay, exactly when the market is going to prove to you that your thesis is wrong and you better get the hell out. And you should know exactly where you are going to take profits and reward yourself for your hard work. Because frankly speaking, and this is another thing that pisses me off about Taco, investing and making money consistently at this is hard work. It's not easy. This is a profession. And I hate how the public is made to believe that making money in capitalism is really easy, because frankly, it isn't. This is hard work. And the work is controlling yourself. That's the hard part of this. And there's no other job in our society where you have to control yourself, because there's nobody else looking out going, whoa, 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 whoa. What the hell are you doing there? You know, if some doctor or something, hey, I've got to perform open heart surgery. All right, well, cut the guy's ass open. I'm sure somebody in the operating room is going to be like, you do realize the heart's over here, right? But in investing and in the market, this kind of crap happens all the freaking time. And these clowns never get held to account. This is hard work to force yourself to come in and buy in the midst of an absolute train wreck. I'm an open book with all of you. You all know this. There's no bullshit with me, and I'll tell everybody on the site, where's my little Ethereum chart, right? I forced myself, and it was difficult. Don't get me wrong. In this game, it doesn't get any easier as time goes by. But I forced myself to come in and buy exactly what I'm supposed to buy at 78.6s. This is my bread and butter. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. Okay, back to our copper story. So at this point, I can't come in on the buy side here. The buy was here. And this often is where a lot of people get themselves into trouble. So I hate to say it, it's the same thing with Bitcoin. If we go back to our, this isn't a trade per se right now, but if we just go back to our long-term cycle analysis of Bitcoin, coming in and investing your hard-earned money here, I think you're actually asking for trouble. Remember, where is crypto winter? It was over here. It was down here. And oh, what a surprise. What do you think the odds are that this was, I don't know, 78.6 retracement of that previous range? Is that even possible? Oh, hello. I mean, do you see how cliche this game is? Can somebody not validate, oh shit, look at that. That's the exact same thing as what he just did on Ethereum. But does that mean I can come in and buy here? The worst part about this is if I'm a serious investor. Now, speculating is a completely different animal, but if I'm a serious investor, I should be measuring where my previous cycle low is. I should be measuring where the top is. And frankly speaking, I have no idea where the top is. It's not in yet, but as it stands right now, it's there. Yeah, I tell you, if we hit up into here, Liam gets his house. Woohoo! I don't know if it's going to happen or not. It's not my job to predict the future, but I do like the idea that we're going to push up top here. Where exactly the top is, I don't know. But anyway, the point of the matter here is if I seriously wanted to invest in this asset, then I draw my reload zones, I get nice and comfortable, and there's 78.6. And this is why I kind of think that we're going to top out somewhere around 200 and change. Why? Because quite often this 78.6 actually corresponds nicely with whatever the cost of production is for crypto, or Bitcoin, i.e., where value is on this story. And usually these 78.6 corrections come in following that crypto cycle peak into the 1.618 to 1.786 time fib, following right into that 80% correction window. And this just so happens to be where the cost of production was. We sort of figured roughly that previous cycle. So I like the idea that we run up to 2, maybe 300 if we're lucky, but maybe we'll be conservative and just say 250. And you notice that that's about 65,000. I like the idea that maybe the cost of production right now is probably 30, 40,000 or so. So following the peak into the next halvening, would it make sense? Double current cost of production. If this was 15, then the next cycle, this is 30. Then the next cycle, this is 60. Just that simple. So that's what I'm thinking going forward. There's no guarantees from the management. But as I've shown here a couple times, these 78.6 retracements, once we get through crypto summer and heading into the fall and winter, they're pretty consistent. So that's what I'm thinking there. Anyway, back to our copper story. Can't come in on this buy side here. Not allowed to. The trade was here. And you have to look at this as a professional and say, yeah, it's a bull market. And yeah, I think I got a pretty good idea where the hell this damn thing's going, but I can't buy that. That's Gucci sweater wearer coming in and basically chasing the top of the market. And ironically enough, what I would do, and this is what I've been doing lately, is I do like the idea that this is a classic AB equals CD harmonic, right? So this would be called right here, and I won't write it out because it'll just be sloppy as hell. But we'll say that this is a what's the word I'm looking for? Symmetrical AB equals CD, take profit objective. And the bot setup, right, that 3-to-1 risk reward window setup, it would have you take profits at the bot objective. I like the idea, and you've probably seen this over the years. Little old ladies sell halves on doubles. There's no reason why you have to walk away from the whole trade just at one profit objective. And ironically enough, with this model, you actually need to move your stop to scratch at this event right here. And notice, look how the market came back down and it never got to that 25 level. So had this trade come back down to this 25 level and lost that level, then that actually would have been a, you know what, this setup's probably not going to work. You better just hop off at scratch and walk away. That is how all the W's and stuff started to come in. And you could have hunted a smaller bot setup off of this, zoomed into a lower time frame, and maybe snuck your way in here. But point of the matter here is at 100% of this objective, we should pay ourselves. But there's a very real possibility that this could be an alt AB equals, whoops, crap. Computers. Let's try that again. There we go. This could be an alt ABCD objective. So why don't we, for fun, keep in mind, once you actually get some fills coming in on here, remember your stops at scratch because of the 50% of that hit. And of course, join the site to learn how to trade the bot if you want to do this in earnest. And of course, you can always just DM me and stuff. I can always help you. But the point here is that you shouldn't lose money on this trade, especially if we hit here, right? Take some money off the table here. No reason why you can't have an order to sell a bit more here. Maybe this will take profit too. And keep in mind, remember our original conversation about extensions, I actually expect this market to move up here. So why don't we have a take profit level here? Again, this is also an alt AB equals CD harmonic profit objective, or a harmonic objective. I won't say profit. And actually, I like to call this level way up here the no-brainer short level. If you ever see a market make an alt ABCD that actually goes up to that 1.618 level, 9 times out of 10, the market just simply has a very, very difficult time moving higher. And notice, and this is super cool, notice confluence. We're all, as technicians, we're always hunting confluence, 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 confluence. So the fact that we have the top of the parking garage, 200% range extension that lines up with the alt ABCD take profit 3 level, I'm more than happy to let some go up top here and just be patient and let this play itself out. That's how you make money from trading setups. Now, the great part about it is we actually just did one, and it was a lower time frame trade. So this is absolutely perfect example. I mean, you literally couldn't add a better example for me to use here to show this. It's everything that you as an aspiring trader really ought to learn in this game. So top image up top here. And actually this was 2 images side by side that Twitter happened to, or Alan and X or whatever the fuck you want to call this stupid thing now. They happened to put the tweets side by side, and it's sort of like, this is the coolest image you could possibly have ever. And any person who wants to learn how to trade and be a professional in the market and learn This is how you trade setups. And this is exactly the same image that I just showed you on copper. And I've been teaching people how to trade this setup forever. And like I said, I was funded as a prop trader a million years ago trading this setup. Put your opinions away. Your opinions are completely and utterly worthless, and trade setups. It'll remove the emotion from the game and it'll make it a lot easier for you to perform. So this happened to be the setup and how it all played out. And the fun part about this is I did this as such a small trade, and there was the buy there, 0.03 BTC at the bot entry point, right? And you can even look at this. This is everything that I told you about copper. You can see I had one low, I had two lows, I had three lows. So I literally let all three of these market participants defend my trade. And sure enough, they came after them and they punched through. You can see it took a lot of effort for them to punch through the first low, punch through the second low, but they could. And look at that. They even brought it back up and then they punched through this low just to make sure if there was any people like, oh my God, that's a railroad track, you got to buy that, then put your stop there, you'll guarantee to make money. Well, they even effed them over too, but they could never take out this third low here. That's why having those three higher lows is so important. Anyway, and then the market does, okay, fine, I'm a bull, F you, whatever. Now let's go. And you can even see I was doing some fun geometry. How is this going to play out at this point? Because we had moved stop to scratch, so you shouldn't lose any money if we trade back at this point back down to here. And then we had moved stop to trailing level. That was hit here. So at this point, you can actually start thinking about moving your stops up and locking in money, profits, if you will. I teach personally a method called the 3 high-low method to trail stops. And this is a pretty good working example where you can see the market tried to make higher lows and higher lows. But if you actually looked at the W's backwards, there was a W right here. And then, of course, there's another bigger W here. The point here is that you can see the higher lows. There was one higher low there when this happened there. Then there was another higher low that happened there. There's a little W that came in there. Then you have to go all the way back down to here. And actually, I took this all the way back down against this tail. And that's my actually third higher low. You can see the W that they made there. You could have counted here. But the point of the matter here is because this low in my eyes was so close to the entry level, I just didn't bother moving my stop. So what? This is no big deal. Sitting on a winning trade and knowing that we've got all these take profit orders working all the way up, I was just like, just let the thing work. I'm not in a hurry to do anything. The trade's on. All the heavy lifting part of this is done. I shouldn't lose any money now. In a weird sort of way, at this point, when you get into the trade, you kind of have to let go and you just have to let Mother Nature take over. In this case, this was an absolutely textbook Alt A, B, C, D, right? There's your A to B and your C to D went screaming higher, all right? Way up here. I think that and keep in mind, this is a 30-minute chart. It's an absolutely beautiful textbook example of the bot. You literally couldn't script a better example. And maybe this stuff might be confusing for you, so we don't really need these triangles on here. I'm a big fan of market geometry, so I do a lot of triangles and rectangles and trapezoids and all that kind of fun stuff on charts. But anyway, in fact, we don't even really need that on there. There we go. So I do believe at this point that this particular setup actually finished itself. At this point, if you're kind of thinking, well, it was a nice run and damn, we made some great money there, but is this it? Could it not move on further? And in a weird sort of way, and I said this before we got the show going, when I saw this, I was like, oh, son of a gun. Another bot setup came in here. So you could even draw off of that range. and then just go, where's my bot setup? So that I have, oh, no, it can't be that big. Let's go reverse. All right, so remember 33% is the minimum move we want. So unfortunately, I don't think we can use that low. Maybe it's that one. There we go. So there's 33. So this ABCD, in my humble opinion, is drawn from there down to there. And if we have another leg higher, then it's like there to there. So I'm going to grab my tool that has validated that we did at least 33, but no more than 66. And I'm going to draw it right up here. And let's change those to the bot trade levels. Boosh. Of course, always drawing beckons. There we go. And oh, what a surprise. Can you see? Just like they did here. Look how well defined that range is. Do you think that's an accident? I don't. It's so perfectly manicured. Look how the double bottom came in right off at that same level again. And then look at this cute little double bottom right there. And look how this tail came right down into that level again. So clearly the market was very, very interested in this level. Also notice too, look how the 25 level is basically this head and shoulders top level. That is a very, very important pivot for the market. Yeah, I think probably the same thing's going on here. So what a surprise. Count with me, everybody. I've got, and if you're sitting at home, do this out loud. It's a great way to keep you honest. I've got 1 kilo. There's the 25 bounce level. What a surprise. All right, can I get 2, 3? Well, I've got 2 kilos. Now, this is interesting. That low, 146.80. Is this low lower? 141. So I've got 2 lows because we went through that low. All right, I got 3 lows. Well, I could technically justify pulling the trigger there. I've got plenty of lows to risk against. I mean, there's the double bottom, but you can see 1 low, 2 lows, 3 lows, 4 lows. Look at all these W's. Trade signal fires. Then all of a sudden, oh boy, here they go. They're coming after us. They take out these lows. They take out these lows. And then notice, 3rd low, stopped on a dime. And actually, what's super cool about this, I often bark at you guys about candle body lows for trade location. So look how they brought it right down into that candle body low. And look at the low here. If you had had your buy order working right off of that candle body low, you'd look like a freaking genius. Anyway, that's another setup altogether. Maybe you didn't even take these. You were like, that's too far away. I want to see the lows against here. Maybe you waited for this double bottom. Point is, there's the 25 level, and here goes the trade. So we have a pretty good idea where this thing wants to go to. It's just, hopefully you can understand this is the way traders sort of dissect markets. That, all right, I hunted this consolidation. In fact, that's what I even said on social media, is I said, there were people that were humming and hawing on the TRI website. Like, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? Well, if anything, this is perfect. This is exactly what technicians want to see. Don't chase. Don't chase. Wait for the consolidation. Let the levels set up. Can I get some bullish market structure to frame my risk? And this is exactly the same as every other setup I show you at the bot. Exactly like the copper. All right, there's my entry. There's my stop. I know that ahead of time. And by definition, there's my first take profit order. Well, you would ideally like that to be 3 to 1. So I'm a little surprised why that's only 2.6. I must have misdrawn that somehow. Something's not right about that. Anyway, this should be 3 to 1 if we actually have it off that 25 level. And then, of course, when you do the darn magnet, and it never sticks right. Anyway, you see roughly accurate. There we go. Yeah, 3 to 1, roughly. Okay. No, you don't have to take total profits here. I mean, you could sell a little bit here, sell a little bit here. And of course, there's our alt ABCD number. So don't be shocked if we push up into here. I don't see anything stopping us here. And now, to really get a better idea of what the bigger picture image is, maybe let's get off the 30-minute chart and let's start talking, I don't know, like 4-hour charts. least we get a little bit bigger picture here. Oh, now that's interesting. Turns out we had that 200% range extension target, and it's still working its way up into that level. So there's the top of the parking garage. Anybody who's taken the TRI course, you know this is where the market probably wants to go to. And it might just, that little bot was sort of like, well, it might do something like this. Who knows? I've often seen that happen. So maybe we hit those lower time frame bot objectives. Interesting how we have a big 4669 floating out here up at 122. I don't know. Maybe we pop up into here. Who knows? But it looks to me like there is more room to run here on this 4-hour chart. So keep hunting those lower time frame setups to keep taking you higher. Nothing wrong with that. Totally fine. So hopefully that gives you an idea of what I'm seeing out of the corn right now. And for whatever it's worth in the near term, I definitely like, big fat round number. My hunch is probably 125,000 is your next sort of psychological objective. That would be right in here. And, also too, if we think, bull flagpoles, hopefully you can see that's the flagpole. I won't call this a setup per se because it didn't really correct enough. Remember, I had to draw the actual pattern off of that low, but this is definitely a bull flag. So what I would say is that's the flagpole, and usually, let's see if I can get this silly thing. There we go. Usually the consolidation is somewhere in there, and I actually wouldn't be shocked if we actually worked our way up into sort of 128 area. My hunch here, though, guess when the Gucci sweater wearers are going to start coming out of the woodwork. That's unfortunately what I think is probably going on here. So a little bit late to come to the party. Yes, there is a smaller pattern that I think is playing here to take us up, but we have to put this into context. If we start looking at things like indicators, are on this move higher, are indicators making new highs here? No, they're not. Is Willie stupidly overbought? Yes, it is. Uh-oh, this could get a little dangerous. Is it a good idea? This is a 4-hour chart, so it's not the end of the world. But is it a good idea for us as market participants to come in and buy when Willie is stupidly overbought? Did you buy here? Oh, shit. Did you buy here? This one actually just went sideways. Phew. But, did you buy here? Oh, looks like we just went sideways. Could you have timed your trade a little bit better? I think so. If you bought here, how did you feel? Crap on a stick. So generally speaking, when Willie is stupidly overbought like this, coming in on the buy side, you're kind of asking for trouble. So I'm not really that interested in trading that latest little 30-minute setup. I do like the idea that it's popping up into things like 4669s. And what worries me now, of course, is you see the market is making higher highs in price, but things like moving average momentum studies, RSI studies, they're not making new highs. Uh-oh, that's not good. Kathy Woods just said 1.5 million by 2027. Yeah, that's bothersome. I'm sure Kathy Woods has seen this before. That is a horrific, and keep in mind, Kathy Woods not been known for the best market timing. If any of you bought any of her ideas back in that 21 peak, oh boy, that was painful going through. Remember that medical stock that she was touting? That thing almost went down to zero. And actually, didn't her mutual fund almost go off the board? So be careful. I would say, and the irony of it all is that she's probably right, but we know that probably this is where things get really bad. But Bitcoin likes to lead. So in a weird sort of way, why wouldn't we see those price objectives through this window? Whatever the bullish objectives are, they're here. I don't know whether we can count. I mean, 1.1 million, that's like the market going 10x. That might be a little bit aggressive. Keep in mind, it already has gone 10x quite a bit. I mean, the irony of it all is that back when you were supposed to be bullish, this thing was only 15 grand. I mean, it's already done a 10x. So she's saying there's going to be another 10x here before a pullback. I don't know. I think that's stretching it a bit. I do like the idea, kind of like this over here. Notice that low there was like 3,000. And I remember Kavarkanator, he went and bought here like a fucking trading god. He was so smart. This was an absolute gift right through the sickness. And I don't even think the 1% wanted this to happen. It was an absolute gift. But you can see that low there was 3,000. This high here, 57,000. I think the top was right around 60 something. So you can see that was 20x. So if we use that same logic and say, all right, the market bottomed at 15, 16, 17,000, what's 20x of 16, 17,000? Sounds to me that's about 350,000. I like that. And oh, what a coincidence. I've had this bull ABCD target of 342,000 floating out here for quite a while. So I'm perfectly fine with that number. But 1.5 million, ironically enough, what ends up happening here is the market goes to 340 or so, maybe as high as 400, who knows. And if that happens, I'm tickled pink. Liam gets his house. I can die in peace. Get the trust fund set up. He never gets knocked out of his house. Maybe ask a few of TRI people to be godfathers and just keep an eye on him. And I can go be with JoJo. Mission accomplished. My job is over. That's a cynical way of looking at life, I suppose. Anyway, point of the matter here is I could see somewhere between 200 and 300, 350 maybe. But 1.5, that's another 5x on top of that. Now, what's interesting is what is 1/20th of 1.5 million? That's the question I would have for all of you. Since we know that markets like to retrace 80% of their rally peaks, think Brian's favorite fib. And we also know that the subsequent bull is usually 20x off the bottom. Then if you're telling me that the next cycle peak is 1.5, then 1/20th of 1.5 million should tell us what the next bottom is. Does that make sense? I think so. So 1.5, that's, oh, actually, I guess we got to go 15000. There we are. Divided by 20. Our next bottom is 75,000. Cool. And we know that the market likes to retrace 80% of its previous move. Remember, I was saying at 250, 80% correction would be 50 G's. But if we're thinking 1.5, then by definition, what's that? 5 times that number should be this cycle peak. So what's 75,000 times 5? Woohoo! Liam gets his house. Okay, fine. Let Kathy Woods have her 1.5 million. Now, the interesting thing about this is I think you can actually predict exactly when the market is going to hit that 1.5 million. That's the kick in the pants with all of this crap. So what do? Let's take our fib time study, and there's our top. There's our beginning of the trough. There's the end of the trough. That means the next 1.3 or whatever in the next subsequent cycle should be our next top. So where the hell's that? Let's take our study and can somebody just quickly Google search what is the date of the next halvening event? Can you find that out real quick for me, please? And that should tell us exactly what to expect next. I think my guess is, can somebody just do a quick Google search? My guess is the next halvening should be somewhere in February of 2028. April 2028. Thank you, Matador. Hugs and kisses. You are fucking awesome. If you see Colin, say hi to him for me. I really would hate to think that we ruined our relationship because of that silly stablecoin nonsense stuff. So April 2000, let's just say hypothetically it's the beginning of April 2028. Well, then by definition, we know that Kathy Woods is probably going to have her target hit. We know number one, where to expect the next bottom. So that should be right in here somewhere around 75 G's. So somewhere in that area. And then we should know that our next top should come in around, where the hell are you? 1.5 million. I guess that's up in there, right? Isn't that cool? Completely predicted the future. March 26, 2028. Wow, that's a difference. Oh, it's 2028 all the way. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, that's what I have there. I have 2028. I have April something or other. Pretty close. You guys got April and March. All right. So we'll go with April 1st, whatever. April Fools. And if anything, that's perfect because that was the day I met my wife. And wow, what a fool's joke that was. Oh, no, that's not fair. Love you, sweetie. Rest in peace. All right. Yeah, we'll just leave it there. All right. So there you go. We just predicted the future. Isn't that easy? See how easy technical analysis is? And the irony of it all, and I've told you guys this before, is we now know the what. You have a pretty good idea of what the fuck's going to happen here in the future. It's going to look something along those lines. I'll even leave that on there. I don't have a problem with that. It's just we don't know what the why is. So the cool part about what we do as technicians is we just sit back and we just go, okay, well, let's see what this insanity du jour is for the why. And you know, I might even argue too. Let's go back to let's go back to Benner first. And let's ask, does Mr. Benner expect some good things through this window here? And it turns out Mr. Benner is, oh, interesting. He's expecting the broader market to actually bottom in 2032. So this is not going to be the funnest of windows here. Now, what is the one thing that might make this really, really difficult on the humans? Is there one thing that might just happen in here? Think Great Reset, think Klaus, think how the banksters, money printing, they don't give a shit about anybody in the public. They only care about themselves and enriching the Rothschilds. What is supposed to happen in this window that might just send Bitcoin going absolutely insane, but it has absolutely nothing to do with like the technology of this space, and it has everything to do with something else? Thank you, Matador. You're the only person who answered me. We know that in this window here, our lives are collectively going to be absolutely shit on by the 1%. And the sad part about it is the public does not see this coming. Isn't that sad? I don't know what the hell this world's going to look like over here. But my hunch is it's not so much that Bitcoin is so valuable and what the hell is that damn image, right? And you're going to go out and be able to buy 10 houses with Bitcoin. My hunch is the whole fucking society is going to go through an absolute inflation nightmare through this window here. We might not even be using the US dollar as you see it now as the world hegemony once this event happens over here. So it's kind of tragic, eh? We're like literally living through the end of days. Hopefully, hope. The world in the future looks something along the lines of what we're doing right now. We might find that actually countries themselves dissolve. There's a very real possibility that my country, Chindia, whatever the fuck this place is called now, it might not even exist in the next few years. It is technically bankrupt and stunningly bankrupt. I mean, it is insane how bankrupt this country is. And the public, of course, is completely clueless. And there are actually parts of the country, and keep in mind, this is exactly what happens through the commodity country assets fear cycles, their negative cycles is, the last time China went through one of these cycles, there was a referendum to break the country apart, and the Federalists mysteriously won the referendum 51% to 49%. Now, my hunch is they lost that. And even the guys, the separatists were like, this is insane. I can't believe we lost this. But you know how crooked our societies are. And to be able to win a referendum like that by 51 to 49, I don't think those were actually real numbers, but it worked conveniently out for the 1%. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. There's a very real possibility that this country does not exist anymore. And isn't this beautifully, perfectly timed? So, like somebody just posted on the YouTube video, I'm like trying to educate you on macroeconomics. And this is a really sad commentary of our society. In comes somebody asking, will 7A1X7 token? Oh, what's the value of 17A1X7 token, Quentin? If you can tell me that, then if that's your real name, you stupid bot, you're probably some Chinese moron sitting over there trying to shill some piece of crap cryptocurrency. And yet I'm sitting here trying to explain your future. And yet this is what ends up happening with this social media. Isn't it stunning? Absolutely stunning. Oh, it's already 1 o'clock. Wow. Well, hey, I don't know. Did anybody get any value out of that tutorial today? We kind of mapped out the future of Bitcoin. So it probably wasn't bad use of our time. Chris, did you learn anything through all that? I don't know. Chris has probably heard all this 100 times before. Oh, great. Is there one person over on YouTube that could say, yeah, Brian, actually, you helped me out today? I sure hope so. And do yourself a favor. And in fact, actually, I'm just going to excommunicate this people. I hate this kind of crap. That's a terrible, and they're talking about an asset that hasn't even actually hit the market yet. Get out of here, you stupid clown. Oh, God, I hate that stuff. Really? Matador? Of all people? You got some value out of that? Oh, awesome. Jim and Liz, you guys get some value out of that? You're my audience, right? I don't give a shit about these stupid bots. Oh, Cheryl. Oh, excellent. Great. Oh, look at that. Oh, yay. Oh, cool. Awesome. All right. Good. All right. Well, then it was time well spent. Okay, so trying to explain the future. And ironically enough, the exercise that we just went through there, I'm actually tickled pink because now I got to go out. I'm literally going to go, Liam. It looks like you're going to get your house. So fucking A. Woohoo. That you just actually collectively here today, we all just put a big smile on my face. Okay, so we're supposed to, I guess, talk about how wonderful this shitcoin market is right now and how you can all make a fortune here. I suppose we pulled Bitcoin apart there, so I hope you have a pretty good idea what I'm thinking about Bitcoin. Good old Ethereum. The problem with this space is that I think it's actually being diluted. I might make the argument that Mr. Vitalik built this absolutely incredible supercomputer. And then quite literally the rest of the humans all have spent the past few years just trying to replicate his machine. And I might argue that the advent of Solana is nothing more than just another version of Vitalik's supercomputer with a couple added features here and there. that make it maybe a little bit more user friendly, a little easier to use, a little less expensive. So as a result, Mr. Vitalik's supercomputer, I don't know how relevant it is, going forward. I think what's going to happen here is that the institutional players are going to use Ethereum's technology to securitize everything from things like insurance contracts to commodities futures contracts to probably a lot of option settlement that Chris and I will be doing will be done entirely off of things like blockchains that are, not the Ethereum blockchain token settlement. Do they use Solana? Do they use a copycat of this technology that happens to be under Goldman Sachs's name brand or something along those lines? My hunch is that's probably the direction that we're going. Somebody over there is mentioning Doge, right? I could easily see Alan come out and do something on the blockchain to capture that kind of business. The problem with that, though, is that this is basically cannibalism. Cannibalism? I don't know if that's the right word. Each of these participants is actually eating each other's lunch. So I think half of the reason why you don't see Ethereum at new all-time highs is because Solana just basically came along and ate Ethereum's lunch. I might argue that, keep in mind, we're not really in a very friendly market state with regard to things like venture capital. You heard my rants earlier about interest rates. Actually, maybe we didn't talk about that, but I have talked at length with my audiences in the past about why venture cap really isn't going to go absolutely insane like it has in previous cycles because of the cost of borrowing. Remember, I made reference to Novogratz earlier and all that. Well, it's the same logic here. I definitely think that we could very easily run right back up to these old highs. I don't see anything wrong with that. I think, unfortunately, with regard to the cycles, because keep in mind, the cycle's running out of time here, right? Middle of October, this cycle is over. Can we do 10x, 100x's at this point so late in the cycle? I'm skeptical. I'm very, very skeptical. One thing that really sort of took me by surprise, and I wasn't expecting this, is, like Solana, for example, I would have thought it would have done really, really well in this cycle, but it has, and it has grown dramatically, but it hasn't grown vertically. We haven't seen the massive price appreciation. It's not grown vertically, it's grown horizontally. Where they said like something like back when Gucci sweater wearers were all the rage last cycle, and I think even into November, December, January, that cycle peak, there's something like 1 million coins, not coins, don't use that term, 1 million tokens were issued on this thing. 1 million tokens? That's insane. So in a weird sort of way, this kind of makes sense. It does make sense. That, this network has grown, and I think it has literally eaten Ethereum's lunch. I do think that these networks are going to rally into this fall cycle peak. There was the 21 cycle peak. I'm not going to get into the business of picking tops here. You've heard me say all the time before, that's a dangerous game to get into. If we, clearly you can see if this W does fire, then we could probably start doing things like fog and bonds to get an idea where this thing wants to go. Of course, if I can get the silly drawing tool to cooperate, and there we go, up there, and then go there. All right, so 2.618 is interesting how that's just a test of the old highs. 4.669s, if this thing really gets going, that'd be kind of fun, but I do think this 2.618 actually is our level here. Oh, come on, you. There. Yeah. Notice, look at 2.618 right up against that trend line, right up against this trend line. I like the idea of it popping up into here, into the sort of the latter part of this year. And I wouldn't be surprised if this is the kind of market where Gucci sweater wearers, they'll probably come out and they'll say things like, don't buy Bitcoin. Bitcoin's already topped out. and go and buy tokens and, real world assets and all that kind of talk. And this bull market actually spills over into the new year. That wouldn't surprise me. But that's the kind of move that I think we're limited to, considering we're really, really running out of time here. Now, if we're lucky, right, we can do the same logic as copper, right? Maybe we think extensions. Come on. So I don't know whether we can do parking garages. And of course, this is predicated on us accepting above this level. I don't know whether we'll actually accept above the level, but if we do, extensions, there you go. Oh, I'm going the wrong direction. All right, now we can start thinking parking garages. And if this happens to be the ultimate low, then we can do things like Alt ABCDs. And what we're looking for here, as I've said earlier, is we're looking for confluence. I'm just going to ballpark this. I'm not going to be too specific. You get the idea. Boom. And of course, we've drawn backwards. Boom. And what time is it? All right. Still got 20 minutes. All right, now we're starting to get some levels. Look at what we have here. Interesting. Look how we have 1.618 and 1.272 lined up. And here's my sort of funny, all right, they're going to push this thing a little bit higher. There is the the symmetrical ABCD. But at the same time, too, what are we talking here? 160. I like the idea that maybe we get up into that 300 here. I could see the asset double. I think that's okay. Well, I just touched my nose, though. I mean, subconsciously, I don't think that. But we'll see. We'll cross the bridge when we come to it. But if this can ABCD out, maybe we get some sort of crazy blow off top into 300-400. But I can't see that insane 10x, 100x move on an asset like this. Because like I said, there's millions of these goddamn tokens out there now. And there's people going, hey, you want to make $1 billion? Just go and flow one of these piece of shit coins off of this stuff, right? The bozo, good example. And the interesting thing is you can see this stuff lifting. The bull market is happening, folks. So, this is a fun screen to pull up and just see what are the shit coins doing, right? You can see them. The funny thing is this stuff writes itself. What do you think the odds are W's are going to start to coming in here? And interesting that this middle of this W is here. What does that mean? Oh boy, where could this thing go? How high is high? Oh, look at that. That's actually not very high at all. So this is the irony of this space, back in here. If you had bought into here, and then of course we have the rally into the end of the year, into the election, you got to force yourself to pay yourself into that event. And then we all crap right back out again. Well, same thing. I mean, this just happens to be, this is like the shit of the shit, right? And ironically enough, when this stuff is going parabolic, that's when we're getting close to the end of the move. So you tell me, I mean, I've pulled up 2 names here. Are these names going parabolic yet? Look at that guy. Does that chart look, I mean, God, where the hell did this damn thing go? Look at this. Does that chart look like it's going parabolic yet? I mean, come on, folks. If you look at that image, right, the sad part about it is the public looks at this image and they say opportunity is nowhere. I look at this image and I go, holy shit, opportunity is now here. This is when the public comes in and buys, and they're, of course, idiots. Gucci sweater wearers, right? In fact, I think Gucci sweater wearers, I think that was right here, if I'm not mistaken. I think this is when we were down in El Salvador. And look what had to happen. They got absolutely destroyed. But is that the top of the market now? What letter of the alphabet is this? Down, up, down, breakout. Down, up, down, breakout. Down, up, down, breakout. Man, this is kind of sounding familiar. I mean, I don't know whether I could buy that one there. You probably should have been buying down here, but hopefully you're seeing the end of this move into October, November, it's going to look like this. And of course, you as a professional, you have to be taking profits into that. What do you think, people? Does this make sense? That doesn't look like that right now. Right? And we know that this cycle comes to an end here, right over here. How long did this take to go from absolutely nothing to I'm buying Lambos? I don't know. What is that? 57 bars from when it really started to break out in earnest, like right in there. Maybe even do it a little bit less. Do we have 57 bars to go? Yeah, we got plenty of time. Do you see how quickly this happens? Keep in mind, and you all know this. Actually, here's a great trivia. What's the percentage time that markets range and then just sit here and do absolutely nothing forever and drive everybody crazy? There's no money to be made here. And what's the percentage time when markets trend and go absolutely nuts? Nice answer, Todd. So the irony of it all is that we got twice the window. There's plenty of time for this thing to start climbing up. In fact, I would even argue we're probably in this phase right now. But when we get into this phase, and what rises last? Who can help me? What rises last in the marketplace? Can anybody help me? Anyone? Anyone? What rises last? Thank you, Prince. I'm not going to say that, but you get the idea. Thank you, FD. Sorry, you didn't have to swear. You could have done a typo, or you could have done like Prince. That's fine by me. But excellent, nice answer, Cheryl. Perfect. Cheryl, what do you think? Is this making sense? Does it make sense why we don't hear the Gucci sweater wetter, or and try saying that 10 times fast. Gucci sweater wearers right now? And at the top of the market, I pretty much guarantee you absolutely will. And now to finish off the broadcast here today, the irony of it all, you can look at the poop coins. That's the absolute worst part of this market. Maybe we look at like the intermediate part of the market. Not really Bitcoin or Ethereum, but kind of like middle of the road. Whoa, look at that. Bitcoin's enjoying a nice rally there. Looks like the next bullish bot's actually working, eh? But let's look at the mid tiers. And I posted this on the site this morning. I couldn't believe this. It's stunning how many W's there are here. And yet, do you hear anybody talking about buying? Look at that chart. What letter of the alphabet do you see staring at you right in the face here? This is exactly what you're here to learn. Bottom end of the range, in come the W's, up go prices. And it's remarkable. You just look at that W. Can somebody at least confirm? Holy crap, Brian. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Bottom end of the range, in come the W's. I gotta say, I mean, the worst part about this is this game is incredibly easy if you just know what the fuck to look for. And nobody on CNBC or any of fucking White House, the Taco, do you think? I mean, the worst part about it is Taco just did this. Why isn't that Eric Trump guy going out? Fuck, you should be buying my old man's coin. Look at it. It's right there. The reason why is because the institutional players are long here. They don't want the public buying here. They'll get the public to buy here into these stupid crony capitalism, phony baloney dinners. Well, I got to curry favor with him, so I better go and buy his coin up here, even though the W is down here. I mean, this stuff is insanely cliche. So I don't know, folks. I mean, I posted these charts. I mean, I've been doing this 10, 15 years. I do know that I am getting through to a a segment of the population, and good on you. You're learning, and some of you are making absolutely insane money. Look at that. I mean, what letter of the alphabet is that right there? It's staring you right in the face. There's another W. Down, up, down, breakout. I have 1 kilo. I have 2 kilos. I have 3 kilos. Hell, I could buy that and be a chicken shit just like Brian. And what's funny about this is I actually drew this over here. I said, okay, well, what should this bottom look like? And that's freaky when that stuff happens. Because look at what I'm expecting to happen. I don't know what the fuck's going to happen here. But that's a buy, and it's already moving up, so you've already missed it. And I was even posting on the TRI site as these names were coming in. I was like, holy crap, look at that. Look at my little OMG. I mean, that thing looks like it's ready to go crazy. This guy, almost, not quite. This guy, whoa, he had a huge pop. Look at that W there. Boom. They already should be making bacon. Look at that. This Giga's putting in a W as we speak. And I often find that my stink bids, often when I look back over time, I go, oh, son of a bitch. Well, if this thing goes and W's through this massive formation, then this buy looks okay. Here's my funny little Matador name. He's going to make fun of me in no end. But if this thing goes and ticks up through here and carves out a W through my buy level, I'll look like a genius. Right now, I'm still in the doghouse. Look at that cute little W. I'm trying to get filled on this thing, but I went and bought somebody's crazy hippopotamus coin with this money. So actually, this order's toast. What time is it? I got 8 minutes to go. Look at that little one right there. I mean, I was stink bidding in here, but if I had some more money, man, I'd probably go add to that thing right there, especially if that W fires. Ay, ay, ay. So you can see the market is trying to find a bottom. Look at that little TIA. I remember this one was, it was like Collins, really, he was in love with this thing. Maybe that's finally the bottom. And now keep in mind, I'm okay with working a stink bid right there and being long from 492. Yeah, I'm underwater, but I mean, look where this silly thing was. In October and November and December, I pretty much guarantee you this thing's going to be popping here. And I'm perfectly fine being long there, nanny nibble style. That's what this portfolio strategy is all about. But I'd love to go and buy some more there. And actually, it turns out that double bottom never came in. I guess now the double bottom is that the double bottom? Question. Look at that little guy. Oh my goodness. So perfect. Right down at the bottom of the range. I mean, this whole damn market's a buy. Oh, actually, not whole. This guy is making new lows, not him. Oh, look at that little RAD, son of a bitch. You know, I went and worked a stink bid in reload zones. So little old lady sitting, but if I had some dry powder, I'd go and add to that there for sure. Look at that cute little buy. Same sort of thing. Work stink bids. Well, maybe you should have waited with a little bit more dry powder, Brian. And actually, I think I was thinking about buying some there. Look how that guy popped yesterday. And now it's come right back down. I tell you, name after name after name. Jeez. You can see, and I've got my money invested. So I'm ready for this market to go. It's just really cool to see all these little W's all coming in down here. Name after, look at that little one, SNX. What a cool little W. Down, up, down, breakout. And you can see I was thinking, okay, what might this bottom look like? So anywhere down in here, totally fine. And you can see when we get into stupid mode here in October, November, this stuff's going to be all pressing up top here. At least that's my thought. Look at, so I even posted this in the TRI room. Look at Sjord's name. Absolutely textbook. And the funny thing is look at this. This is everything that I'm trying to teach you people. Look at where this silly bottom just came in. Oh, hello, reload zone. Absolutely right on the mark. And if you had your stink bid at Brian's favorite fib, you got an absolute gift right there. I mean, it's just remarkable. Name after name after name. Some names have already gone too far. You can't chase that. If you want to buy, throw your stink bid in at 78.6s or wait for W's in 78.6s. but you can't chase that. Look at that little W. Hello. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. So the point being, and if we look at the total market cap, probably the best note to finish off on. I got 5 minutes to get out of here. So here is the total market cap excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum. Here's some old social media rants. Now you tell me, does that not look like an inverted head and shoulders? Sure looks like it to me. Here, of course, is our rally window into our cycle pivot. And actually, doesn't that look like that Solana chart? The one thing I don't like about this, though, is you notice the trend line here is actually pretty shallow. That means, theoretically, for me to really be uber bullish about this space, I need to see a move above the trend line. Then I need to see market structure. And unfortunately, I'm worried that this cycle is just running out of time. So I don't know whether I can believe that we're getting ready for a new wave higher. I'm kind of thinking that this is, this is the rally window. This is our peaking window here, heading into this fall. This could get crazy. Keep in mind, that's $1 billion, and this is what, $1.25 trillion. So it's literally meaning the entire crypto space grows by what, 25-30% here over the next few months. That's a big move, and you will find that individual names, like especially all this kind of nonsense. Where's this stuff? These things, because they have absolutely no market caps, they can go absolutely crazy. And I know one guy on the site, I can pretty much, the little old lady room should get absolutely crazy NTRI as we head through this event window, because this is going to be another one of these. So I hope you're ready. Hope you got your plan in place. Hope you got your together. And you're loaded up. I'm loaded up. And of course, my plan here, of course, is to liquidate into this fall and early winter, and spend 2026, 2027 sort of letting the dust settle in this space to get ready for another cycle, the end of 27. Okay, I think that's about it for today. Hope you enjoyed the offering. Wish me luck on the road if you could with Lily. Slow and steady wins the race. PMA for the win. Come on the site tomorrow if you want me to look at specific names. I think on Friday I looked at at least 10, 15 different names that site members had asked me to look at. You can even come on TRI and do the 30-day trial, so you don't even have to spend any money out of your pocket. But if you really want me to look at a name, just pop on and be on the daily brief tomorrow. These were a couple names that were mentioned on Friday. Now you tell me, how are people doing? And this was Nure. Actually, it's kind of weird. Nure's kind of disappeared. But you tell me. Nure had suggested this one, and I was like, fucking hey, that's a buy. Now, did that work out well? Think so. Nure also suggested that one. Did that trade work out well? Holy shit. So this is from 3 cents all the way up to 5.5. Well, there's your double, like 2.8. What a surprise. Right up at exactly double the price, the sellers stepped up and stopped the bull. Do you think that's an accident? I don't. Anyway, here's another one in Nure's. I think this was Nure's, maybe not. But we had a bunch. Actually, I guess it was this one. Look at that cute little one. So there are tons and tons of really, really good looking names here. You just got to get out there and you just got to do it, right? You got to build your plan, take appropriate risk, understand what type of risk taker you are and how you set yourself up for success based on the type of risk taker you are. And then you just have to understand what actual buys look like. Good trade location, indicator confirmation, price structure, go. It's just that simple. And then, of course, if you're right, for God's sakes, pay yourself. Can't tell you how many people buy this stuff when I get all excited, then they don't sell when the assets double, triple, quadruple, whatever. And then 6-8 months later, we're right back down at the bottom, and they're like, oh, crap. So don't be that person, okay? Okay. All right, PMA for the win. Slow and steady wins a race. Wish me luck on the road with Lily. Come on the site. We'll do a on-site video. And if you want to, I know there were a couple people that asked me to look at coins. Come on the site tomorrow. Do the 30-day trial. Won't cost you any money. And we'll take a look at all your names then. All right. All right. All right. All the best. And the only thing left Brian to say is bye for now.